We'll get to know that. He is moving on and talking about this expose. Former Foreign Secretary Vijay Gokhale has made some stunning revelations in his new book, which puts the left parties in China under scanner. Gokhale has claimed that the neighbouring country used its connections to the left parties to ensure opposition to the Indo-US nuclear deal between 2007 and 2008. He also says that this was arguably the first instance of China interfering in India's domestic affairs. A very scathing charge which has been made in this book. This was a very crucial time for the Indo-US ties and a deal that also tested the existence of Manmohan Singh-led government. The left parties withdrew the support amidst the Indo-US nuclear deal, but the government was able to get the numbers on the floor of the House and save the government. Maha Siddiqui with us on the broadcast. Maha, for the left parties, this is a very damning statement which is coming in from a very well-respected bureaucrat.
Absolutely. And Vijay Gokhale has served in China as well as India's envoy. He has served at the highest level as the diplomat in India, at the foreign secretary level. He is well respected and also known for his understanding of the Chinese side. For him to put this in his book, that he believes that this was the first instance of political interference by another country in the affairs of India is pretty damning as far as the left parties are concerned. The left parties at that time, Anusha, had on paper in their statements constantly reiterated that their opposition is to America and the ideology, and that India is getting closer to America by way of this deal, and they don't approve of it, and that is why they withdrew their support to the UPA government in 2008. But the very fact that now it is emerging that this was not only their opposition to America or the civil nuclear deal, but their proximity because of their ideological leanings as a communist party with that of the Chinese Communist Party, this is seriously damaging. And also the fact, Anusha, if I can take you back in time in 2008, Prime Minister at that time, Dr. Manmohan Singh was not even in India. He was in Hokkaido. And I was, in fact, covering the G8 summit at that time for which the Prime Minister had gone. And it is when the Prime Minister landed in Japan that it was, at that time in India, announced that the left parties are withdrawing their support. That was extremely embarrassing as well, because suddenly all the attention that we would have had while covering the G8 summit about India's position in the world was suddenly shifted totally to the domestic crisis in India and the possibility that the UPA government might not be able to survive. Of course, the floor test was survived by the UPA government with the help of other parties at that time. But it was hugely embarrassing. But Dr. Manmohan Singh stuck to his stand. He got the civil nuclear deal passed at whatever cost it took him, a floor test, that is.
Maha, I'd come back to you and talk to you more about how this was a very crucial and important turning point in the Indo-US ties and the stand that the left parties took, according to the claims that Mr. Gokhale is making. Mr. Narendra Taneja with us on the broadcast. So thank you so much for speaking to us here. Your thoughts on the kind of claims Mr. Gokhale is making? He's saying that the opposition of the left parties to the Indo-US nuclear deal was not out of ideological convictions alone, but also the alleged proximity to the Chinese parties.
Well, first of all, it's not a claim. It's coming from Mr. Gokhale, one of the most credible, one of the most respected diplomats we have in the Indian Foreign Service. It's coming from him. He has served in China. He has served as Foreign Secretary of India. And he's known for a man with very few words. So when he says something, we sit up and listen. And this is coming from him. So it's very, very extremely serious. The question now is these left parties which are registered with the Election Commission of India and they are represented in Parliament, though luckily in much smaller numbers now. But at the same time, they had kind of such close proximity that it seems they were working on an agenda handed over to them by China. If that is the case, it's an extremely serious issue and they must come out clean on that. They must speak. Just plain denial is not going to be enough. We're a democracy. And democracy does mean that a political party which is registered, a political party that some people in the country vote for, is so highly irresponsible. Your loyalty, if you are a political party in the country, your loyalty has to be to the people of this country, to the constitution of this country. And anyone for that matter, whether CPI, CPM, or any political party, communist or not communist, if they work for some political, masters or, on political agenda. It's extremely serious issue. Therefore, it is very important these political parties, the left parties, they must come out clean. They must communicate to the people of India that their loyalty is to the constitution of this country, and that, what exactly was the relationship is coming from Mr. Gokhale is important. They come out in details, with their answer. They must explain to the people what exactly happened, why Mr. Gokhale has come out with this statement and this writing, and at this, is there any truth? If there is any truth in it, then I think the people of India must respond to it.
All right, Mr. Taneja, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. Maha Siddiqui also continues. Maha, I want to come back to you and understand this from a larger perspective. Could you also take us through the details of the statements which are being made by Vijay Gokhale? What he's writing in his book is a very serious and a damning allegation. Indo-US nuclear deal back in 2007-8, eventually till the time it was finalized, was one of the turning points in the Indo-US ties. It was one of the ways in which India could build up its position as a superpower or aspire to do that. Now, keeping in mind that the Bush administration that time was very interested in getting this deal through, they were supporting India on multiple fronts. They also got a lot of waivers as far as this nuclear deal was concerned. Chinese were clearly uncomfortable. Now, the fact that they were uncomfortable is a different thing altogether. But for an ex-bureaucrat like Vijay Gokhale to say that the Chinese or the left links were used is another serious allegation. Ma, any more details available? China used left links. What else does he go on to say? Because clearly the devil here will lie in the details. BJP leader Narendra Taneja just told us that if these kind of allegations are being made, they must be proved because this is a matter concerning national security. And this is likely to take political colors as well.
Anusha, so let's try and understand and go back to that period of 2008 and, a period before, in fact, the current tension between India and China.
Yes.
The last couple of decades between India and China have not been bad in the relationship between the two sides. This is admitted by the External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar himself, who has also been a former diplomat and who has also served in China. The relationship between India and China was in fact good during that period. It was not just left parties that would associate with China openly. There were other parties and leaders from other states also who did go and meet with the Chinese leadership. It wasn't like China was a pariah state, that, there was no communication between the two sides. All that was happening and the relationship was becoming better. But the allegation that China could have utilized that very same feeling to politically interfere in another country is something of serious consequence, because you can't influence the decisions of another country based on your relationship with political parties of that country. In this case, this could have not just led to the collapse of the civil nuclear deal. Let's remember that. It could have led to the collapse of the UPA government itself.
Yes.
And that is certainly a very significant point that one needs to remember. That China, these allegations that have been made in the Vijay Gokhale, the left parties and their proximity to China actually led them to, oppose the civil nuclear deal, and it wasn't their opposition primarily because of the deal itself or their opposition to India becoming closer to the United States, then this is a serious matter, because this could have led to political instability in the country, and which would have not been good for the country, which could have, led to any sort of situation in that context for the country. That is a serious allegation, and I think that is where the left parties need to clarify, because this is not just about a single deal, the civil nuclear deal, because that again is in the realms of question. After all, other parties, the opposition at that time, BJP also was not very keen on that deal. However, the deal was not the only issue here. The deal was that the left parties were supporting the UPA government. They withdrew their support to the UPA government. The government had to go through a floor test. It was a tricky time. The government could have fallen. All those are factors here.
Maha, you in detail spoke about what the consequences here at home could have been. Not just about the 123 agreement that was signed between the United States of America and Republic of India, but I'd come back to you and talk to you about the larger geopolitical ramifications as well. Mr. Majid Memon is joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Memon, thank you so much for speaking to us. Vijay Gokhale, a very respected bureaucrat from the IFS, is making some very serious allegations when he says that the Indo-US nuclear deal and the opposition of the left